This is the day the dream come true. All those hours, sacrifices made. We dream of shaking the commissioner's hand with the hat.
They are ready to love Zion Williams. Y'all ready? Here we go.
With the first pick, the New Orleans Pelicans select Zion Williamson.
Don't even seem real that I just shook his hand. I dreamed about this since I was 4.
The New York Knicks are on the clock.
The New York Knicks select R.J. Barrett from Toronto and Duke University.
And look at Zion.
I'm happy for her. That's my brother.
That's his old roommate.
You have to be proud. Very proud. Be proud of your son.
Cameron Johnson just went 11th. How do you react to that news?
He went what?
11th
Cam
in the
Johnson
draft.
11th.
Yep, it's right on the screen right there.
Wow.
Who used to win most of the one-on-one games back at home in Canada?
I did. I'm not gonna let him answer that one. We're not gonna let him answer that one.
I'll say him because it's his day.
That's Sue. That's Austin Powers.
Oh, behave.
What a great night. Top 3 in the draft went chalk. Zion, Ja, RJ, 2 Dukies and a Murray State, a mid-major sandwich with ACC bread. By the way, RJ Barrett, good month. He grew up a Raptors fan, saw his guys win the title, but he's got to hand in his fan card now. The championship parade was 4 days ago. The champagne has yet to dry on the streets of Toronto, but free agency is almost upon us. The Raptors wooing Kawhi, hoping he'll stick around long-term and add to the trophy case. Here's Woj on the set of Get Up with the very latest on their recruiting efforts.
This still is really just the Clippers and the Raptors, but I'm told they're open to potential meetings with the 76ers, with the Knicks, even the Brooklyn Nets. Now, Philadelphia, their focus is re-signing their own free agents. Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris, J.J. Redick. But there are always relationships that exist that are going to allow teams to get meetings. Very often they're just as courtesies. They're for a favor perhaps in the future. But I think it's conceivable. He's going to sit down with Philly, the Knicks. But this is still a 2-team race right now, the Clippers and the Raptors.
There he is, arriving. It's R.J. Barrett. Knicks will introduce their 3rd overall pick to the media today. He spoke not too long ago. How much pressure must be on someone? The entire city on your shoulders. There's a lot of expectations. Here's R.J. talking about the last 24 hours, folks.
How's it been the last few hours?
I mean, what do you think it's been like? It's been great. You know, like I said, just a lot of love, a lot of support, and this is the place I wanted to be. So for everything to work out the way it did, for me to have my boy with me now, it's like I couldn't be happier. I just remember every single game, we'd like stop whatever he was doing and put it on and just sit there, and he'd be cheering, and we'd tell him to quiet down. He didn't care. He would be cheering. So I just remember that, and he knew I was starting to play basketball, and he kind of, preached it into existence. So, I thank him for that.
Talking about his late grandfather there. Number 9, R.J. Barrett. Take a look, though, folks. It's been a while since the Knicks selected a talent like Barrett. Barrett is just the 4th top 3 pick selected by the Knicks in the common draft era since 1966 and the first since Patrick Ewing, number 1 overall in 1985. Big shoes to fill there for him.
Smart Decision is brought to you by The Home Depot. More saving, more doing.
Kyler Murray wore number 1 and went number 1 in the NFL draft. Zion Williamson wore number 1 and went number 1 in the NBA draft. These are the things I noticed. And despite the fact that Zion knew he was going first, he was sobbing after the pick, knowing all that he and his mom had sacrificed, all the work they had done to make it happen. And then he watched his teammate, as we just mentioned, R.J. Barrett, go 3 to the Knicks. They're the 5th pair of teammates to go in the top 3 since the merger. Our own Jay Williams was half of one of those pairings with Mike Dunleavy Jr., Duke Blue Devils in 2002. Wondering if Zion and RJ are the first of this group to both shed tears of joy while being interviewed on draft night. It was powerful stuff, Karen.
Yeah, David, you called it. Meanwhile, the NBA draft, as we just talked about all day long, was the best expression of dreams realized. Zion's emotion, obviously overwhelming. R.J. Barrett and his father, well, that captured my heart by simply saying, "Son, I'm so proud of you." Tears of understanding, compassion, and happiness filled the evening. It was a great event and a sincere look at a new league. Here's our Mark Schwartz with more.
We've seen Zion dominate, and we've seen him fly. But it was not until his dream came true that we'd ever seen Zion cry.
I mean, I don't know what to say. I didn't think I'd be in this position. My mom sacrificed a lot for me. I wouldn't be here without my mom. She did everything for me. I just want to thank her.
Williamson knew he would be #1 for months, but sharing the moment with his mom, whom he calls his toughest coach ever, revealed a side of Zion none of us had ever witnessed.
She put her dreams aside for mine. She always looked out for the family first before herself.
When the Knicks chose R.J. Barrett third, he needed his dad's shoulder because of a prediction his grandfather made.
That was one of the reasons why I was crying, because, you know, we used to watch the Knicks growing up, and he'd always tell me that I was going to be a Knick. And, you know, it's sad that he can't be here to see it, but I'm just very happy, man.
For some, the tears were for loved ones who could only be there in spirit. Future Sixer Matisse Thybulle talked about how his late mom Elizabeth was his inspiration.
I wish she was here to see it. The way she fought for everything, like even until the end when she was getting sick.
#4 pick DeAndre Hunter wore his heart on a string.
There's a picture of me and my dad when I was a baby. I was about 8 months maybe. And my dad passed away when I was in 1st grade, so I just want him to be here with me. I want him to get drafted with me, and he's seeing everything I'm seeing right now, so he's right here with me. Kobe White said everything he does on and off the court is for his late father.
I'm excited, but it's also hard for me because I would give anything to have him here with me tonight, and let him see me watch across the stage. But I just gotta enjoy the moment.
Zion Williamson, Ja Morant, and R.J. Barrett are all projected to be superstars. But for all three, draft night was not about wingspan or shoe deals. It was about gratitude, and it was powerful.
Mark Schwartz there. Hey, the emotion's not confined to the draft picks. Here's how the Zion selection went down in New Orleans. Streamers, yeah, I think they liked the pick. New Orleanians don't need much of an excuse for a party, and Zion gave him one last night anyway. Malika Andrews has been living in New Orleans all week, and she joins us now. She'll be there for another couple days. So, Malika, give us the schedule for Zion Williamson today down there.
Well, he is going to be landing here in New Orleans at just a few minutes before 1 o'clock Central Time. And then it's about to be time for his press conference. He is going to be talking with the media here for the first time. He is going to meet with those folks. And who knows? I mean, he's probably going to be exploring New Orleans a bit tonight. But this is the first time that New Orleans media will get to meet with him. So it's going to be a busy day for Zion.
Well, there's sirens already playing. There's Zion Williamson coming to town soon. We watched him last night.
They cut him just for us.
Yes, Malik, the tears streaming down his face. Just an unbelievably cool moment. What was the reaction like to that in the Pelicans organization?
Well, David, if I could take you inside the Pelicans war room for just a minute, because when they made that pick, this is something that they've been looking forward to for a long time. And they made it, and there were high fives and excitement. And then they saw Zion doing that interview with Maria Taylor, and the tears started streaming down his face. And in turn, the whole war room got silent. And they watched as this really highlighted the reason why they got this guy, for the human parts of him just as much as the basketball parts. And David Griffin actually got emotional talking about that last night.
Okay, even if you don't like the Pelicans, even if you don't like Duke, Zion changing hearts and minds last night. Really more popular now than he was 24 hours ago, I would have to say, and that is saying something. Yeah. Malika getting us straight from Zion's new city, New Orleans.
Off-white suit, I love this choice. Won't have to wait long to hear his name on draft night, taking it all in, recording it for posterity as well. Let's hear from the commissioner of the NBA, Adam Silver, standing by with Jared Greenberg.
Welcome to the Thank you for having us once again here at the draft. It's great to have NBA TV.
Can your viewers see this runway behind us?
It's pretty cool, right? Look at this.
Parade of these handsome young men.
Everybody's coming through here.
Absolutely.
We got a lot of people, including Tobias Harris.
Hey, Tobias.
Big-time free agent who's coming up here in a couple of days. Let's begin with what's happening behind us, this procession. You're not just the commissioner. You are a basketball fan. We do know that. Have you gotten caught up in Zion mania?
Well, I happen to be a Duke guy as well, so I don't know if I'm caught up in it, but I end up following that team more than most college teams. And he's an exciting player. There's no doubt about it. He's got a bigger-than-life sort of persona.
Yeah.
And his game lends itself to a lot of marketing, and I'm excited to see him coming into the league.
All right after the draft, as we talked about, free agency. Is there any part of you that is concerned at all with the perception that, whether it be the media or fans, has been having, particularly over the last 36, 48 hours, that deals are being agreed upon before we even get to June 30th?
Of course, I'm concerned about that perception. There can't be a binding deal agreed upon before the cap is set for next year and before the league has approved it. Having said that, I don't want to sound too naive. My sense is teams are talking. As we've said before to our teams, if somebody brings to us evidence that teams have done something inappropriate under our system, we would investigate. But there's not much more I can say other than we look into anything that's brought to us, and everyone's operating at their own risk because there can't be a binding deal. We would not allow it to be enforced. If somebody essentially agreed to something now and one side wanted to back out of it, the other side would not be able to enforce it. So that's really all I can say.
You have spoken a lot about how about 40% of the league will be free agents. We just had Tobias Harris behind us here. Is that all part of an intended consequence of the new CBA? And is it something that you're happy with?
Well, I'd say I'm neutral on it, but I'll add that it's math, as I've said before. We knew that would happen when we shortened contracts, that players would become free agents more quickly than they had historically. And that's good and bad. On one hand, I feel for a team that's losing a top player. On the other hand, there was always this sense, hey.
People are trying to take your airtime away.
There was always this sense in the league that if we did shorten contracts, that there'd be more, in essence, a system of pay for performance. I mean, especially in a cap system, you don't want a lot of dead money at the end of the bench, which, remember, we came from a time where there used to be 25-year contracts, sure, and there used to be a lot of 9-year contracts, then 7-year contracts. So I think that's all very positive. And from a player standpoint, you want the best performing players to get their money, especially in a system where there's, in essence, a macro hard cap. There's a fixed amount of money that's being paid into the system. So even from a player standpoint, you want the money to go to the most deserving players. So I'm neutral in that the best 450 players in the world are in the NBA, and so then the question is, where do they get distributed into which teams? Sure. And so a certain amount of movement is good, and also for those franchises that are looking to genuinely rebuild, you want players to become free agents. So you don't want fans thinking we're locked in for years into mediocrity. The players become free agents together with a draft and trades, and that's a way to rebuild a team.
And it keeps us busy on NBA TV and giving people a reason to watch, which is all a good thing for us. You spoke before the finals at your annual State of the League address about Kawhi Leonard and the approach the Raptors took. And we understand your stance of recovery from an injury, so load management was an acceptable tactic. Now that the Raptors have won a championship, is there any part of you that has wondered if, because it ended up in the best possible result of a championship, that there will be a copy and paste mentality, and not just for players using load management who are recovering from injury, but others as well?
I don't think so, but we'll see. I mean, look, watching Kawhi throughout the playoffs and finals, obviously, of course, he played exceptionally, but he didn't look 100%.
Right.
I mean, there was clearly, at various points, he was actually limping. And so this was a case where a player had missed almost an entire season leading into this season, and there was a recovery protocol to sit out games. I mean, I could give you examples of lots of other players who missed significant games in this past season, but it didn't improve their performance.
Right.
So, and the science is not clear on what ultimately is what causes injuries. I will tell you, if we knew that if you reduced workload on players, it would prevent injuries, we'd be looking to do it. Obviously, it's like driving a car. If you're not out on the court, it reduces your chance of being injured.
Sure.
But there's a suggestion right now in the league, this notion of load management, that as you continue to play players, it increases the likelihood of injury. If that were the case, we would if you divided the league into 4 quartiles, it would mean you would have more injuries as the season goes on. That's not what happens in our league. So the science is not clear. I understand that a team could look at what happened with Kawhi and say, aha, that's the secret formula. We're going to rest the players more. But there's no demonstration that's effective. And the other side of the coin, and Kawhi is an extraordinary athlete who was working incredibly hard when he was off the floor. But what you also see for players who sit out, they get out of sync, they get out of shape, they're not game ready. So there's pros and cons. Having said all that, we're continuing to look with the Players Association, with our competition committee, on what an optimal season should look like. And who knows if 82 games is the right formula. We're going to keep looking at it.
You've said that many times before, and certainly something we'll continue to follow up with. I like the fact that not just the players were stylish tonight. Little 3-piece suit from you here as well. Look at the vest here from the commissioner.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I enjoyed it. Commissioner Adams.
You look very nice yourself.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I won't tell you who my stylist is, though.
Me either.
I don't want to have to pay extra money for that. Adam Silver, thank you so much for taking the time. Best of luck tonight.
Thanks, Jared.
Gentlemen, thank you much. We will go back to Barclays Center. Our Brooklyn crew checks in when we come back.